What's up, guys? So I'm going to be answering a question that I received for an LG V60 user looking to upgrade. So if you're looking to upgrade your V60 and you kind of want to move away from LG since the phone's not getting updates anymore and LG's not making phones anymore, is the S22 Ultra a good upgrade here? So that's a very good question. There is a lot of good upgrades here, but there also is quite a bit of cons as well with this upgrade. So let's go ahead and dive in here. All right, so let's talk about the overall price. So if you do decide to upgrade to the S22 Ultra, it is a $400 phone in the used refurbished marketplace. The V60 you can find easily for like 200, 180. It's a really cheap phone these days. So let's go ahead and get into it. Hardware wise, these phones are both really big phones. You can see they're about the same size, and they're both IP68 dust and water resistant, and there's quite a few differences when it comes to the actual hardware here. So at the bottom, you'll notice the V60 has a headphone jack with a quad DAC, so you can plug traditional headphones in here and you can get some excellent audio. The S22 Ultra does not have a headphone jack, but it does have a built-in S Pen. So with the built-in S Pen, you can do digital artwork because it is, it's just that accurate where it's really precise. You can also just jot down notes, and Samsung has a bunch of different features that you can take advantage of with the S Pen. So, it's definitely a very cool thing to have. And I think my favorite thing here is definitely its functionality with the button. So if you're like a content creator, it's Bluetooth, so you can be at a distance, take pictures, take videos, and record at a distance. So definitely very cool thing to have as well too. Now the V60 also does have another advantage, which is it does have SD card support, which the S22 Ultra does not have. So you are going to be losing the expandable storage. So it really depends on the person. So both of these are 128 gig models, and you can easily expand the storage with an SD card, put 512 gigabytes in the V60. With the S22 Ultra you can't, so you would have to pay more money to get the 256 gig or the 512 gig. You would have to pay quite a bit more money. So definitely take that into consideration as well. Alright, so let's go ahead and talk about the screen quality. So with the S22 you do have a dynamic AMOLED, it's a 6.8-inch display, 1440p, 120 Hz HDR10 plus, 1750 nits peak brightness, 500 for the PPI. The V60 also has a 6.8-inch display, it's POLED HDR10 plus, 1080p 395 for the PPI. So what's interesting here is that the display, on the S22 is obviously better. It's got a better max brightness. It's a higher res display. Design wise, it's more modern looking as well too, and it is 120 Hz as well. The V60 has a pretty good display, but just not quite on par with the S22 Ultra's display. Now here's the thing about the V60's display, is that you actually do have dual screen case support. So you can actually buy the case, and it's like maybe 50 bucks these days on eBay. You can actually buy it and turn it into two phones, so you can have two screens on the V60. So that's like the bonus with the V60. But if we're just talking just straight up display, you do have a better display on the S22. The most noticeable thing honestly is going to be the 120 Hz. It's definitely, something that the V60 does not have, but the V60 is pretty smooth for 60 Hz. But yeah, you will notice the 120 Hz for sure. So I would say that's the biggest thing, and max brightness is better on the S22 as well. So definitely take that into consideration, and overall it is a little bit more modern looking, but definitely having that dual screen case support on the V60 is really cool if you're somebody who is, somebody who likes to multitask a lot. So you have just an excellent multitasking capability with that dual screen display. So definitely take that into consideration. But if we're talking about just straight up display, the S22 Ultra has the better display. Alright, let's talk about the specs a little bit more. So the S22 has the Android 14 One UI 6.1 update. The V60 got its last major OS update with Android 13, so it's not really that outdated as far as software goes, so it still feels fairly modern for the most part. It has the Snapdragon 865, 128 gigs of internal storage, 8 gigs of RAM. This one also has 128 gigs of internal storage, and this one I believe has 12 gigs of RAM. No, it has 8 gigs of RAM as well too. Yeah, so both same RAM configuration as well. You can see the S22 Ultra with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 has just better scores as well. Now, the better scores don't necessarily translate to better performance. So the V60 is still really fast. I would say this is not an upgrade at all, really, in terms of speed. It really depends on what you're doing. Like gaming performance is probably the biggest difference, but if we're talking about just raw speed, the V60 is still blazing fast. It's not a slow phone at all, not even a little bit. Again, let's try Chrome. So you guys can see how just fast the V60 is. Just keeping up with the S22 Ultra. It's a very fast phone. So it's not slow by any means. That's why I said I try not to get too much into benchmarks and stuff like that, because in the real world they're completely unnecessary. When we're talking about flagship phones, like if we're talking about like mid-range phones and stuff like that, budget phones. Alright, so here is the difference when it comes to performance. So the S22 has 90 frames on it. So if you're somebody who plays competitively, and you can see this across the board with PUBG, Call of Duty, Fortnite, you know, anything that supports high refresh rate, the frames and everything is just going to be faster. The V60, since it only has 60 Hz display, it can only support, you know, smooth extreme, right? So it's very smooth for 60 Hz, and then you can also use the dual screen case, and you could like see the map on PUBG, so it's pretty cool with that as far as using it for gaming. But this is very smooth for 60 Hz, but again, the S22 is going to be better for gaming. Alright, we got these speakers at max volume. We'll start with the V60. Alright, so you can pretty much hear clearly that the V60 has the better speaker. It's overall louder, has more bass, it just has more depth to the sound, which is something that I really like. The S22 Ultra sounds fine, it's decent, but it is definitely on the flatter side. And I do want to talk about the software a little bit here. So what's cool about the S22 Ultra is that it got the Galaxy AI features, which could be a big thing considering, you know, who you are, but it's got quite a bit of AI. You have pretty much the same features you would have in the Galaxy S24 Ultra. That's a cool thing about, you know, what Samsung did this year as far as the image editor, you know, summarizing text pages or web pages with the Samsung Internet. You have live transcribing on here as well too, live translations with the voice calls. It is pretty cool. It's very useful as well too. So definitely something to take into consideration there too. Also wanted to note the fingerprint scanner on the S22 is definitely a lot better. I definitely think that's an upgrade to an ultrasonic versus the optical one here, which the one on the V60 works fine. It's just you know, you have to apply a little bit of pressure, and the V60 does not have face unlock as well either. So that's definitely something that you're missing on here. Alright, let's talk about the overall camera specs here. So the S22 does have a 108 megapixel standard, 10 megapixel telephoto, 3 times optical, 10 megapixel periscope with 10 times optical, and then a 12 megapixel ultra wide. You can shoot an 8K 24, 40 megapixel selfie that shoots in 4K 60. You also have the 100 times zoom on here as well too. The V60 does have a 64 megapixel standard, 13 megapixel ultra wide, 0.3 depth sensor, shoots in 8K 30, and has a 10 megapixel selfie cam that shoots in 4K 30. This max zoom is about 10 times. So yeah, so check out these side-by-side stills. Let me know what you guys think. so let's talk about battery life here. So you have a 5,000 milliamp hour battery on both of these phones. So you do have faster charging on the S22 with 45 watts. And then you also do have wireless, and the V60 does have wireless charging as well too, but you don't have reverse wireless charging on the V60, and it doesn't charge as fast. So I definitely think that the battery life on the V60 is really good. I actually think it's slightly better than the S22 Ultra. But the S22 Ultra, believe it or not, the update with the One UI 6.1 update has really helped the battery life, and standby time is much better on the S22 Ultra now. It's actually pretty impressive. So I would say battery life is pretty good on both of these, but I would give the slight edge to the V60. But again, they really fixed the standby time on the S22 Ultra with the update. So yeah, so overall, I think that this is a pretty decent upgrade, but it's quite a few downgrades as well too. So it really depends on how much the headphone jack, the SD card support, the dual screen case. It really depends on what you thought of the cameras as well too. Also, the S22 Ultra will get more software updates. You have the AI features on here, so there's quite a bit of pros and cons here when considering these two phones. So let me know what you guys think, and I will catch you guys in the next one.